We got Reformed Ron Swanson on Twitter, who sends us a question. Let me put this up here so that way it can be on the screen. Reformed Ron Swanson. Have you ever seen Parks and Recreation?
Yeah.
On Twitter there's a Reformed Calvinist Anonymous group, and so they'll find ways to make a bunch of like Reformed versions of characters. Like there's a Reformed Bucky from Marvel. There's like a bunch of Reformed Marvel characters. There was a Calvinist. The one that's actually gotten popularity is the Calvinist Batman, his own thing.
Oh, that's funny.
Calvinist Batman. I wonder why they're in here. Try to add. Apparently, they tried to get in the link another way. Two of the guys that apparently wanted to join in, and so now they're in here. So
I didn't know Bruce Wayne was reformed.
Funny enough, there's a reformed Joker. He was called Redeemed Joker, though.
Peter Parker.
All right, so we have reformed Ron Swanson, who says, "Is karma something bad to believe if it makes us better people in the long run?" And I'm gonna have to agree with the random bearded guy, also known as Sovereign Beard for his Twitter handle. Yep, it is bad to believe because it is, again, not a biblical concept. It comes from another false religion, and there is no biblical verse that supports the concept of karma. So it is bad for a Christian to affirm it and such, because you don't find any concept similar to it in the Bible concerning the issue of karma.
Well, see, I have another question. Unless somebody else has a question first.
But just very briefly, yes.
Well, regarding this topic here, karma. There's a verse in Galatians, I think it's 4 or 5, that talks about reaping what you sow and stuff like that. So, could you give us a brief explanation as to how those two might be different? Karma and what's explained in Galatians. I want to say it's 5 about.
Okay. Galatians 5.
Yeah.
All right. You know the verse?
Man, I'm gonna have to look it up.
I did.
I want to say it's Galatians 6, maybe. Yeah, Galatians 6 through 10. Galatians chapter 6, verse 6 through 10.
Right, Galatians chapter 6.
Starting at
okay, since y'all were talking about karma and reaping what you sow and karma, that's basically a bit similar to the fact that you're having to watch out what you do. And in karma, there's always consequences, whether it's good or bad.
Well, let's read the verses because the way you described it, one who's ignorant of the Bible could kind of see the similarities, but I know there is.
I read the Bible.
All right,
I saw similarities in it.
Hold up. What's the verse again? So that
it's Galatians chapter 6, verses 6 through 10.
Okay, 6.
Please read it.
Okay, verses 6 through 10. So Galatians 6, verses 6 through 10, or chapter 5.
You want me to screen share?
I got my
app. Just read it.
I got my app right here.
Okay.
Let me pull it up. All right, so you said it's Galatians 5 or 6, verses 6 through 10.
Galatians chapter 6.
Okay, just making sure. Okay, so let him that is taught in the word communicate unto him that teacheth. Let me make sure that the present to everyone, so that way it's bigger for everyone else watching to see. Teacheth in all good things. Be not deceived, God is not mocked, for whatsoever a man soweth, that he also reap. For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. But he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. And let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap, if we faint not. As we therefore opportunity, let us do good unto all men, especially unto them who are of the household of faith.
Right now, I'm not saying that's karma, but I just wanted to hear your take on how it's different from karma. Or maybe explain what karma is.
Okay, so what is the doctrine of karma in what religion does karma come from?
Karma comes from Hinduism, but you can see it in both that religion and in Buddhism.
Okay. And so, in application, how does the relation between the god of Hinduism relate to creation? Like, what's the relationship in terms of that application of karma?
It's a different version of the same god.
Basically.
I would disagree. No, I wouldn't say.
I mean, like, to have creation, you have to have destruction.
Mm-hmm.
And if you end up, for example, like what happened with Cain and Abel,
right.
If God didn't have mercy on Cain, it would have been like basically like a karma effect where he would have had to suffer for a really long time without any mercy at all for the rest of his life.
Okay. And so...
Because he killed his brother.
Okay. So let me ask this. In the karma Hindu version, it's based on the deeds that one does, that one ends up getting this karma and such that is done. Does that mean that is there faith involved at all with this karma?
Actually, yes.
Okay.
Because
is there
you
a
would
text?
have to.
How so?
I've read a lot about Hinduism and all that type of stuff. So,
is there any Hindu texts or scholars you can mention on this that expounds upon what you said then?
You can look at the Mahabharata or even the Vedic text for some of that stuff.
Right, but could you be specific on like this specific passage that mentions it?
And it's one of their core beliefs.
Right, and
that,
there has to be a foundation of which they abstract this belief and retrieve this belief from, correct?
Yes.
So that's why I'm asking if there's a passage that you can tell me in those two texts that you mentioned that goes into detail about this.
Oh, I don't know if this necessarily supports the argument. I think it might. But in Proverbs 20:24, verses 17 and 18, it says, "Do not rejoice when your enemy falls, and do not let your heart be glad when he stumbles, lest the Lord see it, and it displeases him, and he will turn away his wrath from him."
Hey, RC apologist, I'll send you a link when I'm inside, because I'm actually outside right now.
Okay. So the main thing to focus on is the fact that the issue is that if we go by calling it karma and focusing on that main issue and element, then we're going to start focusing on the Hindu religion, which would be leading to ultimately idolatry. Yeah, so the main thing is why I don't focus on the karma perspective on it is the fact that if we do that, then we're going to get ourselves into to risk of falling into idolatry and falling into the worship of false gods and false deities and such. Which would include
not
that
necessarily.
which would include that of the Hindu religion. And so that's why I would not encourage too much into focusing on such of the
There's karma in
aspect.
in Sikhism, and they're not Hindu at all. And they believe in one God and all that type of stuff.
Here's the thing.
Well, either way, it still wouldn't be the Christian religion, and that would be the main thing. There is that it's not of that, and it's that, and that would put it as a false religion.
They believe in God, by the way.
Well, I mean, so do a bunch of others, but the Bible also talks about that there being false gods and false idols and religions that exist.
But in monotheism, there's only one God. The question is, which version of God is more accurate?
Or which, you're right, and that's where Christianity, because it is the one that accounts and is more consistent, and is the one that can account for multiple things, including the laws of logic and the uniformity of nature versus the other religions.
Like what relating to what we were talking about earlier, monotheism was before Judaism, well, not Judaism, but around the time of century after Moses, with that so-called heretic pharaoh, and even centuries before that in China.
Okay.